All right, let's talk about an agency that is constantly in the news but is honestly pretty misunderstood. We're diving deep into India's Enforcement Directorate, or as you almost certainly know it, the ED. We're going to break down what it is, where it gets its power, and all the controversy that seems to follow it everywhere. I mean, if you follow the news in India at all, you've seen these two letters, ED, pop up constantly. They're always linked to these huge, high-profile cases, major financial busts. But what is this agency really? What does it do? Let's peel back the curtain and figure it out. So, to really understand the headlines, we have to start with the absolute basics. What is the ED's job? Well, the easiest way to think about it is as the country's elite squad of financial detectives. Their one and only mission is to follow the money. Now, the ED isn't some new organization. It's actually been around since 1956, and it operates under the Ministry of Finance. Its whole purpose is laser-focused on protecting India's economy in two major ways. First, fighting money laundering. That's the whole complex game of making illegally earned or dirty money look legitimate. And second, going after violations of foreign exchange laws. Making sure money is moving across our borders legally. Okay, so an agency is only as powerful as the laws that back it up, right? So where does the aegis get its teeth? Let's take a look at the legal arsenal it's working with. This one right here, this is the ED's number one weapon. The PMLA. And it's not just about catching bad guys. It's about hitting them where it really, really hurts, their wallet. This law gives the ED the power to seize and confiscate property that's been bought with the proceeds of a crime. Next in the toolkit is FEMA. So if the PMLA is about policing dirty money inside the country, FEMA is all about policing the money flowing across India's borders. The ED uses this law to investigate and slap penalties on anyone who's breaking the rules on foreign exchange. And this is a perfect example of how the law has to adapt. The FEFWA is a much more recent tool from 2018. It was designed specifically to stop offenders from just hopping on a plane and leaving the country to escape justice. With this act, the ED can go after the assets of fugitives even after they've fled India. And believe it or not, its power doesn't stop there. The ED also plays a key role under another act called COFEPOSA. Now this one is especially powerful because it allows for something called preventative detention. What does that mean? It means they can detain someone before a crime is even committed to prevent a major foreign exchange violation from happening in the first place. As you can imagine, that's a pretty controversial power, and it just shows how incredibly broad the ED's authority really is. But, when you have that much power, you're bound to get intense scrutiny. And that, inevitably, leads to controversy. This is where the story of the ED gets, really complicated. Now, what's so interesting here is that this criticism isn't coming from journalists or politicians. This is from the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court itself has actually raised the alarm that the agency might be overstepping its bounds, which could create friction within India's federal system. And this slide really gets to the absolute heart of the debate. On one hand, the ED's mandate is crystal clear. Investigate economic crime without bias, impartially. But on the other hand, it is constantly facing these serious allegations of being used as a political weapon, which of course raises questions about its independence from whichever government is in power. Some of these controversies are kind of baked right into the laws the ED operates under. The PMLA, for instance, has some really debated parts. Take a look at this one. The reversed burden of proof. Now, in most legal systems, you're innocent until proven guilty. But under this specific provision, that's flipped. The accused person actually has to prove that their assets are clean and legitimate. That, plus the power to arrest people and seize property pretty early in an investigation, has raised huge questions about civil liberties. So much so that these exact provisions are being challenged in court as we speak. Okay, get ready for a fact that is pretty staggering. Just think for a second about how much financial crime has changed since 2011. You've got the explosion of crypto, complex global shell companies, all of it. And yet, the last time the ED's official staff size was increased was 2011. Its responsibilities have ballooned, but its manpower has been frozen in time. It's basically being asked to fight 21st century crime with a team from over a decade ago. And that staffing issue is hitting at the absolute worst possible time, because the nature of financial crime isn't standing still. It's evolving at lightning speed, creating brand new headaches for an already stretched thin ED. You see terms on the screen like pig butchering and phantom hacking. I mean, they sound like they're from a wild movie, but they are very, very real. These are new age cyber and crypto frauds. In a pig butchering scam, for instance, a scammer builds trust with the victim over a long time. That's the fattening the pig part. Then they convince them to invest in some fake crypto scheme, and once the money is in, they vanish. That's the butchering. These are the kinds of complex, borderless digital threats the ED is facing now. And the problem has a lot of layers. You have this massive surge in digital scams. And at the same time, big international bodies like the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF, have pointed out some serious gaps in India's system. They flagged weaknesses in how things like crypto platforms are regulated, and even in how high-profile political figures are monitored for financial risks. So, given all this, the political controversies, the resource shortages, this new wave of digital crime, what's the way forward? How can this financial watchdog actually be strengthened? So what's the solution? Well, experts point to a pretty clear roadmap, and you can see the main pillars right here. It's not just one thing. It starts with process, strictly following the rules of due process to rebuild public trust. Then, it's about working smarter, using solid intelligence to build evidence-based cases instead of just casting a wide net. And of course, it needs those resources we talked about, more skilled people, and the latest tech like AI that can actually keep up with today's criminals. And finally, all the different agencies need to work together, not in silos. It has to be a holistic approach. And so, at the end of the day, we're left with this one central question: watchdog or weapon? Is the Enforcement Directorate the impartial guardian of India's economy it was designed to be, or has its incredible power turned it into a political tool? The answer really isn't simple. It's something that will be defined in the years ahead by this very delicate dance between power and accountability. The real question we have to ask is, how do you make sure the watchdog never, ever becomes the weapon?